Hello and welcome to Paint the Edges with your hosts James Mack and James Thayer. I'm sure we can change that. I'm quite positive that it never used to be 5 second countdown. Five is too long. I want three. Just give me a 3, 2, 1. Like five is just like it's a waste of my time. And also I don't need five. I've purposely pushed start for a reason. Like who would need at least the extra 2 seconds off the back end of that to do? What are you doing? What are you
See,
doing in the 5 seconds?
this is somebody that's been podcasting continuous for consecutive years where you don't need the intro time. They're trying to be courteous to all the new people Riverside is
Fuck
trying to
him.
bring in that are trying to do podcasts and don't need the shit. Bring it back to 3.
I swear it was three before.
It
Wasn't
might
it?
have been. I have
I
no
swear it was
idea.
three because it was never that long of a time period. Because I remember I used to have the nicotine thing in my hand to pop it open in the 3 seconds and then get one out to throw it in as we started. Like I had that down to an art. Now it's 5 seconds. And I sit here for like I didn't put one in this morning because we're podcasting slightly. I mean, I've already had.
Just working the tab.
We're in it. We're fucking in it.
If
like,
you
dude,
can't tell, Mac is coming high energy right out of the gate.
Dude, I've been awake for 3 hours. It's 6:15, so I was awake at 3:05 this morning, and literally at 3:38, it was funny. I was listening to Junta and Shell's one of them. I can't remember which one it was, where he was asking about like his nicotine and stuff.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't taken it for a while or something along those lines. He's like, yeah, like I just didn't feel like it was a good idea to take nicotine at like 4 a.m. or whatever it was. And I was literally listening to that as I had just put one in, and it was 3:38, and I was like, he might have a point. Like this may be a problem. Like that's yeah.
It's a long identified problem though.
Yeah. Look, I apologize for the human I am. That is quote. That is from Jordan Junta. I can't remember what we did. We did something like just terrible, and he just looked at me and he's like, I apologize for the human I am. And I was like, that's it. That's the scapegoat going forward. With how this works.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you acknowledge your own faults, right? That's the whole process of it of accepting yourself is just I recognize my faults and I accept.
Oh yeah, I'm not
those
changing
faults.
it. Like, I'm not changing it in any shape or form. But I'm definitely excuse me. I'm aware of it. Yeah. So I mean, as Thayer said, I'm coming in hot because my mornings now start at 3. That's it. That's how my life starts. It's 3 a.m. until, luckily I went to bed last night at 8, which was like rare for me in some shape or form. Usually it's a good 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So I'm getting a good couple hours of sleep, which I'm thriving on and using
You need.
many. Oh, our last podcast we recorded, remember I was like, I'm running low on monsters, so I bought 2 more cases.
I saw anybody that's you won't have. Okay, so you wouldn't have seen this by the time this podcast comes out, but anybody hearing this now, like full style valet bringing up your suitcases in a nice hotel is what was delivered to Mac's door.
100%. They've got it waxed now. They use the bellboy cart to bring up the 2 cases of monsters. So that's where we're at in this current moment in time. So yeah, lots of caffeine consumed already. Haven't cracked my monster for the day. I was. There's just something. I know you can. I know you're good at like the cold monster in the morning at like a 6 a.m. ish or 5 a.m. ish. It just, I feel like it's a slippery slope. Like if I were and when that starts happening, which it's not far off because it's 6:20, and I'm like, ooh, like I know I put I freshly stocked the bar fridge, so it's nice and cold. I've already felt them already. I've checked them out. They're taunting me, right? They're taunting me. When that happens, I know I've got a problem. Like that's my light on the dashboard.
The safe hold that you have though is you like coffee. So like the reason that you hold off is because you're introducing coffee. I don't have that. So
I'm drip feeding caffeine in immediately into the veins. I mean, I had my first one at 5:30, so, and I've just ordered another one that's on the way. So yay! Oh, but yes, I'm coming in hot, and I'm coming in hot for a few reasons. One, obviously, overstimulated, caffeinated. There's probably nootropics in my system as well. I just can't remember what I've taken, but there's definitely things. There's things that are moving at a rapid pace. Yesterday was Sunday for us here in the future. Apparently, it's currently Sunday for you. Yesterday was Sunday. First show of the season, which was pretty cool. Running through one of my clients that I oversee and mentor, his client, for first time on stage. Really good, did well, fantastic. That's not what I want to fucking rant about. So we have always said, like, reach out to us, ask, like just open in terms of that.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's been used well in the past, correct? I would say that it has, like, in a good conversational way, usually really nicely. Like, there's a lot of positive things that come from that in our setting, correct? Right?
Yes, most people that utilize that are mindful of people's time and try to be very direct and efficient with utilizing that resource when or if they use it.
Yeah, 100%. And as we said, formally being like, yeah, sweet, whenever you want to in any shape or form. Now, here's the thing, and I'm not going to be a dick about this. I'm not going to like say their name, etc. From this, I'm not going to slander them in any shape or form. I don't even know how they know me. I'll be 100% honest, because after this experience, which I'll tell you in a second, I went and I had a look at who they follow or who's following them. This was clearly on Instagram, and there's none of us. So I don't know, and I could be completely wrong. But fucking just a thing in life, right? If you don't know someone and you've never had a conversation with them, you never met them, or now with Instagram and social media, there's some shape or form, right? And, if I randomly message someone, right? If this is, especially in our setting, if this is how it goes, you're a fucking idiot. Is the only way that I can kind of say this. And if you listen to this podcast, if this is you and this is how you know us, which I somehow doubt it, right? Think next time, and you made it worse. So I get this message. Looking for some insight, have a client that experienced a pop during a taekwondo, had nerve conductive test, all come back normal. She has numb area on scapula and her arm will go noodle. That's it.
Just a cold open to this.
Just that, okay. Right?
Yeah.
So so my reply back was super simple. Hello, person's name. How are you? I think you meant, hello, James. How are you? A little bit of courtesy would go a long way with regards to this. Wait. First one that came through was, my apologies, get tunnel vision. Then it got edited to, yes, how are you? My apologies, get tunnel vision. You're an asshole in any shape or form, and I'm so sorry that I'm not sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. If you listen to this, and that was you, please think about it, because and this is what baffled my brain, I called you out on it, and you didn't even you didn't take the second to be like, oh, fuck, that was an idiot thing to do. Like, there was no remorse in any shape or form. It's just like, yeah, free knowledge. And again, I'm okay, and we've always been okay with giving some form of information out. And to be fair, there's not much. There is, but there's not much that's been given there. We would ask follow-up questions, etc. But if you're going to cold message someone on a fucking Sunday, have some fucking manners. And am I wrong? Am I wrong for the feeling of what came through there? I was baffled. I literally looked at my phone a good couple times, because it did come through while I was doing a whole bunch of other things. And I was like, what the fuck? It took me by surprise. I'm like, just saying hello? There wasn't even a hello to start it. For a fuck.
So, one is a cold open of just asking disjointed questions with very, very limited context, it does make it quite difficult to give an appropriate answer with none of that. As a common courtesy, just an introduction of yourself and hello to the person, maybe even some context of like, hey, I've been following you for years. I know you have good information, so this is why I'm reaching out. Opposed to that, it can take you a lot further than just asking for answers right off the get go. It can set up a conversation to be had back and forth much easier. And if you do get tunnel vision, a self correction, an acknowledgement of like, hey, yep, that's on me, my fault.
That's
How are you? You're right. I should have been trying to be better about this. Those can go a long way. It's also part of that is, just social media allowing for more informal, which is great in that connectivity. But there is a lost art to having to send professional emails that
yes,
these are the basics of like, hello, good morning. I hope you are doing well. And that, but also just the courtesy and how you communicate with other humans. So I think of myself in that exact same situation. I have your number. I can reach out directly. But even if I'm reaching out, it's like, hey, Mac, if you have time for
just
this.
Hey, there's just a hey, Mac.
Yeah.
There's just a hello. I don't need anything else.
Exactly. At the end is probably going to be like, hey, if you have time or bandwidth for this, just let me know. If not, hope you're doing well. If it was something where we haven't talked or I'm reaching out to somebody that I haven't talked to in a while, I'd follow up with that. I appreciate any time, any thoughts you have on this, or just checking, do you have time for that? Sometimes that's something that we've had, conversations about is like, hey, when you got a second, or if you have, because especially perfect example here, because you're entering chaos season. So for me, if I'm reaching out to you because I know you, because I follow you, because we interact quite a bit, that if I recognize the circumstance that I know you in is like, oh, there's very busy times, want to be mindful of your time, that I might put that in of like, if or when you have time.
It's just like I honestly sat there baffled for a good chunk of time. Look, at the end of the day, I've just left him on red. I was like, "Fuck you!" Like, like the message back was just a like, "Hey, this is a boundary thing," and then if they just turn around, like you said, acknowledged, being like, "Fuck, I'm sorry, cool," I would have continued the conversation as I could through the time. Just a straight up like had to edit in the I'm sorry afterwards. Like I was like, yo, your immediate reaction was not even an acknowledgement.
Whatever
this
you
is
just said,
I just get tunnel vision. Like, imagine it. Just, no, I'm just a dick. Like that's it. That's literally just what came through. It's like, yeah, I know. I'm just a dick, and it's fine. Just accept me as I am.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the ply of like, just like acknowledged. But let me go.
Literally, yeah. It's just
next
like
time.
It was the verbal way of someone thumbsing up my message and then continuing with it afterwards.
Yeah, that's but exactly here's the thing I need to know though.
Yeah, it's like cool, but like answer my question. Like that's literally how it came through. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And again, and I hope this isn't. I really hope that this doesn't come across in like we're arrogant assholes, because we're not. And I really am not in any shape or form. I've said this many a time. The goal is to help the industry. The goal is to move forward. The goal, and this may sound slightly contradictory, but it's also about people, and it's about just a common decency, respect. And I don't demand or want respect because I think I'm superior in any shape or form, whether it's intellectual or anything like that. It's just a common courtesy. It's just it's a human thing to do, is kind of how I look at this. Like there's none of that side of it of behind Like, this is not a power play. This is not nothing of that. This is just you really have got no social cues in any shape or form. And it's cool that we're over the internet, but it's like, it comes down to the whole thing of people have this, I call it like the big car syndrome. When people like driving in their car, they're all fucking arrogant and they'll like just do anything. It's like until we get out the car and then it's a whole different story. It's the same kind of concept of this going on, where all that required was just a, hey, Mac. And that's the other thing. I know you don't know me because, as I've stated many freaking times, don't call me James. And there, what one, she didn't say James in any shape or form, but like, if you would, it would just be like, hey, Mac. Or again, hello. Like, that's all that I required out of that. And I was just like, this is insanity to me that you feel, like you said, like my closest mates don't even treat me in that manner. No, not even close. Yeah. It's just wild.
And it's, I mean, it highlights a point that direct access shouldn't take away from common courtesies of greetings, setting up interactions, things like that, because it's going to get you further. And it's, you know, we've talked about this at great length, but like, you're in the people business, and how you engage and interact with people is relevant in those dynamics of connection and syncing answers and solutions.
Well, there's two folds that come to this, and the one I want to further elaborate on, and I'll go segment that. But the first one was just off the bat of, like we said, I'm fine answering questions and stuff, but at the same time, if I wanted something answered, do you know my first, or looking at further expanding on a thought or something, if it's someone I don't know or haven't had have not sent a message, not even liked a story, no fucking fire flame emoji on any shit, nothing. First interaction, all right? Do you know what my first thing would be? Would be, hey, whatever their name is there a way in which we could converse about said topic? Or can I book in for a call? Can I pay you money for this? Can I do anything in terms of that? We've said multiple times, reach out to us. And we are. Like, how many people have we taken the time and effort into? It's like, I take that time out of my business, my clients, all of that. And it's not a greed thing, but there are people who pay me for that knowledge and that education that you are requiring from that statement there. It's like there was no thought of, maybe I should just ask if there's a way in which I could reimburse them for their time. Because 9 out of 10 times, someone sends that, they'll be like, hey, can I book in for a call or something? I'll be like, fuck, dude, it's chilled. Like, let's jump on a quick call. I've got time here. Let's jump on a quick call. That's the response I'm going to get. And then sometimes it's going to be like, yo, like, this is a bit more of a complex thing. It's like, let's book this time in. And then it's a smart business boundary. I don't mean business sense, business boundary, because it very quickly becomes something of where people are just sucking you dry in terms of your time and stuff, and you now either devalue your service, or at the same time you take away from your actual service and the people who are currently paying you in terms of this. It's not about money, but it's about the thought that this is greater than I. I'm like, hey, if I'm reaching out to someone, I'm going to repay them in some shape or form in the character that I am. And I think we should be, in terms of that, or the discussion. The second thing, to follow up on what you said, like we really have at nauseum spoken about this at nauseum. Like, this is the people business, 100%. My concern, or like the way that I really think about that, is how do they speak to clients? Like, that was my serious thought process behind that. Of like, if that's how you speak to someone you supposedly respect, and I would assume there is a form of respect out here because you're asking, or there's an intellectual aspect of this. It's like, how do you, and not that you shouldn't respect your clients, but how do you speak to a person who's coming to you for help? Like, that's a fucking red flag. With, I don't know, we seem to seeing those all around lately with coaching red flags. But to me, that's a red flag. Like, you can't even converse with an individual. You're not going to do well in business in any shape or form, because you can't There's no social cue there. Hi, hello, fucking that's it. That's where my brain goes with that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good reflective piece, especially whenever the response in that is I get tunnel vision and don't think about that. That'd be my concern is, well, do you get tunnel vision in the thing at the time that you're trying to react to? And maybe we might want to see, are we losing that communication or the rapport building element of how you're engaging with your client? If tunnel vision equates to reaction and a loss of interaction with the human side of it, is this something that we need to work on? Is this something that we can address? Address to anybody that saw the video. We just saw Mac get his coffee and celebrate.
And nicotine, and the fresh nicotine. One.
Perfect combo for you. But yeah, it just looks at, going off of one of our previous episodes, like we discussed auditing our program and where there's some blind aspects that we could address. This is a perfect example on the business side, on the interaction side. If whenever I have to react to situations and scenarios, do I lose sight of the person in front of me? And maybe that's an opportunity that I need to refine how I'm approaching the situation, how I'm discussing. The other side that I do want to touch on real quick is that you brought up, when thinking about reaching out, when you can leave it in the person's side of the court to determine what is going to be the best solution for them to provide an appropriate answer to you. Now, hey, either one, look through their stuff, see if they have a way to book and go ahead and just book on that. Or if you can't find it, hey, is there a way that I can book? And maybe they can send you the link or send you and explain a brief little context so they have some information, unless that's in the booking. But give them context, because, for example, it might be a question where you read that and you're like, don't worry, we don't need a book. I can answer this in 2 lines, or give me 30 seconds on voice notes. I got this sorted for you. Not a big deal. Or whenever you have somebody saying, we've gone as far as nerve testing, hey, this probably needs to be a call. Like I'm going to need some more information, because if it's got to a point where we're needing to see if the nerves are firing, even if, hey, yes, they are. We've got that sorted. It's like, well, clearly we had to go to a point to see that, hey, maybe they weren't, that I'm going to need some more information, and to give you the best solution with the most accurate information I can, I'm going to need better context, and probably not going to do this in a back and forth where it feels like noodles is the context that I have going off of.
Yeah, it would be negligible. I think it would be negligible as, and there are two things. One, it would be negligible as me as a coach, but it would be negligible more so from hey, we've moved into clinical testing sides. That's out of our scope of practice, right? That is very much in terms of out of our scope of practice. We've seen this many times before of, a he said, she said, fucking broken telephone of, nerve conduction. They said it was all fine. Meanwhile, you go and you look at the report, or you interpret and you see this and you look at the findings. You're like, hold on, how did you get it's all fine from this? It's like, no, it's not.
Be like, the fact that there's nerve activity present does not mean we're all good.
Oh, good. And that's, it further kind of compounds this entire thing of the thought process behind it, or the lack thereof, I think, is actually what is really kind of concerning and frustrating. Of, you're asking a complex question. It's not, as much as it might be like a simple statement, it's quite a complex question, because we have a large variables, or large amount of variables coming into the mix here. Right? We have some studies that have been done. We've had obviously a continuous amount of pain occurring in this in positions, because you don't just, my arm feels a bit sore and I go straight to getting a fucking nerve conduction site. This has been a period of time, right? And that's me just reading between the lines of the broken paragraph that I received, right? But this is a more complex case, right? It might
Well,
be a simple answer, but complex in what's going on.
yeah, and to even layer that a little bit deeper, to think about it, it's complex for who's asking the question. And that's what really matters is yes, there's absolutely complexity in cases and multi systems that might be interacting or interfacing with each other, creating issues. There might be histories. There might be a lot of context that adds to very complicated cases. Regardless, it's a complex situation for the person that's asking. It might not be complex for you, and you might be able to distill it down in a very, very simple answer with the experience that you have, with the education you have. So for it's not about complexity for you, it's the person that's asking that it's complex for them. And so, in
Yep.
any situation, because they're not able to resolve the answer that maybe they've um, utilized all their resources in, which has led to the point of them reaching out, it's a complex situation for them that they probably are going to need more time, not only to get an answer, but to understand why that is possibly an answer. That again leads into a call is probably the better approach. So asking, can I book a call, or can we set up a meeting? Anything like that, if you have it available, from the understanding that this is complex outside of my understanding because I can't resolve it, that I'm needing to reach out for a greater resource. So, not just I'm looking for an answer, think about yourself in trying to understand why that's an answer, that there needs to be an education piece for
So
you that should take longer than Mac's
that
third. Even if Mac can distill it down, as great of his language is, it's on you as the coach that you need to understand why this is complex for you. And that's really what I find often that takes a greater amount of time, is not providing the solution, but getting the individual that you're speaking with to start understanding how we get to that solution.
it's the what immediately triggers to mind, and it's exactly as you were kind of saying. But the practical use case of this is that question was a chat GPT fucking question. Right? And that, like, they're looking for an answer instead of looking to be educated. And that's like a concern. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we've mentioned this many, many times. It comes down to a principle use. It comes down to an understanding. It's like, how does that help? If I did reply to it, and if there was more courteousness and there's fucking that came into the mix here, the problem with that entire interaction is, and again, maybe as we kind of went further down it, maybe there could have been some more kind of language that came into the mix here, but there's no principle base that's going to come down. There's no applicable into other individuals or into a learning structure. It's like we've got an individual here who is experiencing some form of nerve pain. It's whatever, nerve pain. I fucking left, right. I don't even know if it was the left or the right side or bilateral. Right? It's something's going on, and all right, let's think about it. Is this in the overhead plane? Is this from our side? Is this got something to do? And like those things matter. Why? Because as we teach them, and I'm bringing this kind of full circle because literally just did week 2 with the level 1 students right now, and the big thing that we go through with regards to the understanding of the shoulder and the musculature around it is, if I had to ask those questions and we could go through this teaching, like if she said to me, it happens when it's up overhead, it's like, well, we immediately know what musculature we're working on or where the problem could be, right? We know if it's more pain in overhead than kind of at the more abducted position, like in this under 90-ish, we're looking at muscles that go from scapula to rib cage, not necessarily ones running horizontally. That would be arm bone to scapula. Why? Because it's not where the pain is present. There's not where the discomfort. Now, I'm not saying that that's the answer, and I'm not saying that there isn't more context that could be behind this, but it builds back to kind of this principle-based approach of Nothing that was asked there is a I want to learn. It
Mhm.
was a give me the answer. It was the James is the chat GPT. Let me fucking put it in. And one, that is very concerning as a society that we just run to chat GPT or run to Google or whatever. It's like, let's just ask for the answer instead of the understanding or the looking to learn. Unfortunately, I think we do fall into that as a society, as an industry, very, very quickly. Shameless plug. This is why L1 is so good at what it does with regards to the labs, where we have the ability to put the application in place. We have the ability to have the soundboard, the discussions, like all of those things that come through, because that's it. It's not about, and we've done this many times from the last 5 years of doing the shit. Like when you're in a lab and you're an instructor in a lab, the goal is not to regurgitate an answer. The goal is to get them to think more, to ask better questions, to go through and a lot of it is, just guiding us towards an answer or towards a principle or a thought that could kind of get this flow going. But again, that takes time. That's not a thing that just happens within seconds. It's like a booking in for a call or a conversation or a phone call. And how many times have we both done this where we booked it in, we jumped on a phone call with them, no problems, easily. Like I'm not here for greed. I'm not going to charge you for every minute of my time. But I will also make sure that I stand firm on my boundaries in these things because it is just fucking disrespectful. Quite simply into the case.
Yeah, and again, it's not only it's being mindful of the person that you're reaching out to. There's an aspect of respect in how you can approach that situation and being mindful of their time because that's ultimately what you're asking is for their time, and there's going to be different periods where they're more or less accessible, and they're going to let you know that. They're going to let you know what's going to be the best way that they can possibly solve this for you. But how you approach and how you're setting up the scenario to try to have a discussion can come about much, much easier whenever you're a greeting, a slight introduction can be very helpful. And what I'll also say to this is I love it every time L1 starts up and students are using labs and like engaged with the materials because I think it helps bring about some of these conversations and helps illustrate why we've been doing labs so long, why we have been able to do the courses and lectures and pair those, and how beneficial they've been because we've seen years upon years of people come through and have this engagement piece. I recently in my lab had questions from somebody in the L1 course, and it was about shoulder pain, funny enough. So finding out where they were in the course, I was like, this is perfect. You're getting ready to go right in here. So
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to give you an hour lecture. I'm going to toss this up because you're about to learn it. So let me touch on a couple of points, but also the question side of it, the evaluation, because they had a client that was in physical therapy that the physical therapist recommended a deload. And so some questions around that, they were like, when is it safe to move from the deload? We've seen some progress, but there was some irritation with the pain. And so going through this one, it's setting the context, why would we deload? So even thinking about that of here's some potential parameters where a deload could be beneficial or somewhere it might not be. Let's get the right context that we're operating in. Knowing what we're looking for in that deload, we discussed pain as an irritant. So we need to have a marker around pain in that situation. If we don't have context and scalability to see where that pain is it staying the same? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse in this process that we're trying to work around it or potentially address it with a physical therapist? That's a disservice to the client and for our own knowledge in having that long-term scalability and long-term trackability. But even little things like that, it can begin a conversation outside of the aspects that we'll go through with shoulder mechanics, that we'll go through progressions and regressions to exercise, developing a coaching lens from seeing the biomechanical side of it. But it's, setting it in the right context that we need to ask better questions, because that's going to expedite that process. And knowing some things like that of, okay, we have somebody with shoulder pain. If the only context we ever put that in is shoulder pain or no shoulder pain, we're going to rip cord out anytime that there's a presentation of pain, instead of having it scalable to be able to see, okay, like actually this is pretty tolerable. We're able to improve range of motion, our time duration, the planes of motion that we're operating in, maybe even the load, with the pain staying the exact same thing, but all these different areas of improvement, but without even that thought process of what is the pain saying, or how am I identifying what information the pain is providing to us outside of just presentation of pain or no pain. It limits my ability to really make choices instead of just always reacting to something. So even a thought process like that of, let's put some better context to this, let's give us better tools that we can create solutions, is what we're discussing, of how to think and how to approach a problem through that critical thought process that gives us better information, that we're more informed and we can find those solutions easier because we have a better understanding of what we're trying to solve.
Yeah, it's expanding the view of client, trainer, or whatever in this kind of scenario to then take that one zoom out. Like that's essentially what we land up doing throughout the course. Is we just kind of teach them and like, hey, like we can zoom out more, and we can zoom out more and zoom out more, and when we do this, we can find more and more principle based concepts that come in that you can actually then apply or cross pollinate. Like you mentioned, it's very easy for us to just hyper focus in on one thing of the pain, for example. And it's like, great. But if we don't ask the right question with regards to that, that becomes an issue. It's like if pain, and you mentioned, if pain stays the same, but we've increased load or we've increased exposure or we've decreased exposure from this, like that's an answer that we need to have an understanding for. It's an answer we need to be looking for, right? If my volume decreases but my pain stays the same, that's a issue, that's a problem, right? And vice versa, like if the volume increases but the pain stays the same, it's like, well, it's taking more, it's tolerating more, and nothing has got worse. Now the goal is, at the end of the day, is to unlearn pain, shallowism from that standpoint, because pain is a learnt response from the body, right? So again, if you, and there's a principle, there's a concept that you can learn and you can apply. It's a experience that the body has learned. So again, if I increase volume and my experience is staying the same, positive result, right? If I'm my experience is staying the same, but I decrease an input, problem, right? And these are the things that matter. And these are kind of like the framework of the mental gymnastics that we have to be trying to do in anything and everything that we kind of like move ourselves into as coaches. And yeah, it's complex. That sounds very complex and it sounds challenging. And there's a step by step that happens with this. Yes. But what I do find, and I think, like you said, you mentioned this, and what I'm fucking shameless plugging all the L1 this week, and even kind of further from that, is the coaches who have stayed in on like the collective or had the lab access that's continued, right? Those are the ones that have got better because they're just applying more and more and more and more. It's like, shout out Ross. Ross has been 4 years in labs with us, 4 years in labs with us. He's gone through a variety of the different courses and he continues to show up in them because the the view and the lens is forever getting clearer by adding more context to it. when we have more situations, when we have more access to different people's clients. And this is why I fucking love doing it myself, is I work with a handful of, I got 75 clients myself on the top end of the other business. Like, we got another 25, 30 that sits there. It's like, okay, cool. I get 100 people that I get eyes on with, which is epic, right? Because again, this is the itch that I like scratching, is I get to understand 100 different people. Comes to teaching, comes to labs are anywhere from 5 to 20 to 30 people that come in it, depending on where it runs. Courses, 200-300 students depending on the semester. Like, that's 200-300 from here, plus their clientele, which is at least 20 to 30. It's like, now we have this pool, right? So we can kind of like we can test our theories, we can test our knowledge, and that's why I think we are no thanks. That's why we are the best course out there with regards to this, because of the learnt experience of the back end of it. Right? It's the how many times have we literally taken the model, as we've kind of just said? We went through the shoulder model last week in L2, in L1 week 2. We've been doing that for 6 years. It hasn't changed. Right? And do you know why it hasn't changed? Because it's a principle. And it's evolved and it's been adapted into further concepts, yes, but it has not changed because the principle doesn't change. And we can see this in how many times have we now applied it over and over and over from 2 to 3 semesters within the year. That's 12 to 15 semesters it gets applied across, minimum of 200 students in a semester, minimum of 20. And it's like, there's our science, our data. If everyone ever challenges us in terms, like, comes back, and I specifically mentioned the shoulder because, for example, the Glenohumeral rhythm is the one that I always see the pushback on in any other kind of course or industry behind that. And it's like the thought process and the concept and the way that we go through it is the correct way. And like cock on a block, I'm fucking going to tell you it's the correct way, because there's further thought to it. It's not the blanket statement of, for every 2 degrees that the arm bone moves, the scapula moves 1 degree. It's like, hold on, guys, let's think a little bit further than that. Like, yes, glenohumeral rhythm is important. We have to have the understanding of it, but there is caveats and there is context behind when that actually applies, and when and what positions we need to be in for it to actually be something we need to factor in, versus just this blanket statement of like, arm bone moves, scapula moves. It's like, no, that's not how this works. That's not how the body works. And like, again, we've applied this over the last 5 years, over the last 10,000 people, and it fucking works. Proof is in the pudding every single time.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding, and it is that application that we rely on of performance is the proxy. It's understanding the principle in application, what should be happening, and checking your work, making sure that's actually happening without the expectation that this is just supposed to happen because the book or cert or workshop I went to says it's happening. Glenohumeral rhythm's a great one. It's like, yeah, at certain time and place, when do these start to have a greater degree of interaction or importance? But also, rhythm is not an expected thing that automatically happens the same for one person to another. The coordination and proprioception and understanding for rhythm to occur is diverse across several different people. So just because I say my arm going overhead has some coordination of glenohumeral rhythm, yes, but is it happening in the appropriate time and place? Just because my arm goes up, if my scapula is advancing past the state that it needs to, that's not the rhythm that I'm looking for. It's still happening, but if, hey, arm goes up, scapula goes up, we're good, it's like, but are we?
Yeah. But are we in both positions? It's the understanding of where the position needs to be, and obviously having the understanding of the principle of glenohumeral rhythm and its applicability in certain positions is what matters. And it's not the blanket statement of arm moves, scapula moves. It's like, you're missing the fucking point completely in terms of that.
Yeah, and I think that all of that relates back to, kind of full circle where we begin is like how you start is really going to set the trajectory forward of how far you can take this. And in a simple reach out to start a conversation to find solutions, that a little bit of grace in that, a little bit of greeting can get you a long, long way to further be able to expand your ability to educate yourself and receive knowledge in different capacities.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Fucking sick. Podcast done. Me getting angry done. Well, not angry, just disappointed. As per always, guys. Questions, comments, concerns. Reach out to us. If you reach out to me, please put a hello. And if you don't,
hello,
I will refer back to this podcast. Would be nice in terms of that. Anyways, fucking is what it is. Guys, YouTube, subscribe, do the thing. If you listen to us on not YouTube, please just go to YouTube and subscribe. You don't have to listen to us afterwards. I don't care. But just do the thing, please. Yeah. All right. We'll see you next week.